What's going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode with the Country Slicker. Thanks for tuning in today. We are going to do a 2,000 kilometer review on Stitch, our 2023 KRX 1000 Trail Edition from Kawasaki. Let's take a few minutes and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, what we love, what we hate. The long and short of it is 100% I would buy a KRX again if it came up. I love this bike and I want to show you guys why, so let's take a couple quick seconds and let's go through some of the good times that we've had over the last 2,000 kilometers.
Big day today. We are picking up our new whip. All right, so we're just headed down to Blackfoot Motorsports.
It might be like
No chaos.
300.
One shot. Oh, easy.
Okay, so as you guys can see, we've put this thing through its paces. So I bought this in March. I think it was March 2nd or 3rd. I took delivery, picked up the KRX, bought it brand new from Blackfoot Motorsports. I think out the door price was around 36,000 bucks Canadian. It's been an awesome bike for what it's intended for. So I want to jump right into it. I want to start by talking to you guys about what I dislike about it. To start with, the KRX is known for having problematic spring sag on it, or supposed spring sag. So one of the main things you'll notice with these guys is over time you lose clearance. We have lost, so whenever I first bought the machine and brought it home, I did do a quick measurement just to get a rough idea of what I had for suspension and what I had for ground clearance. I was running 14 inches in the front and 14.5 inches in the rear. So right now you can see here we're looking at I've got 13 inches in the front roughly, and I've got a total of, looks like I'm down to 11.5 inches in the rear. So we've lost quite a bit of ground clearance in 2,000 kilometers, 9 months. So from the time from March 2nd till when this is being uploaded in February of 2024, we're about 11 months. So I've had the bike for, about 11 months. So it's, I mean, to lose that much ground clearance, what's going on? So up until recently, I did believe that it was spring sag. Everybody talks about on KRXs, it's a known weak point that you have tender springs that sag down over time. I have been researching this topic extensively, talking to lots of people that have owned them since brand new, since 2020, whenever they were first released, or 2019, I guess it would have been. I have not yet talked to anybody that put tenders on and didn't love them. That said, I'm going to try something different, and we'll roll that out in another video for you guys, but we just ordered some, or shock caps, I should say. So the Fox shocks are notorious for either being underfilled from factory with nitrogen or leaking the nitrogen that they are filled with from factory out. So we're going to take a look. That'll be in a future video, but that's one of the things that I really dislike is the amount of ground clearance that we have lost. The springs have sagged down. We've lost the ground clearance, which is super important when we're off-roading, specifically for us here in northern Alberta, or central Alberta, I should say. We don't have a very long summer season, and in the winter season, ground clearance plays a huge factor in whether we're going to jump around in the snow and have any issues when it comes to sliding around on the belly pan. So, which brings me to the second thing that I dislike about the KRX from factory. The rear end of the KRX, it has a very thin metal skid plate all along the transmission. So again, very commonly known, when you buy a KRX, the very first thing you want to do is throw a skid plate on the rear. So I have the full access UTV skid plate. It drills out some factory holes, you install it over top of the stock metal pan, and then it protects your skid plate. Now the issue with it, and I'll show you guys right here, but the clearances between the stock skid plate and the transmission and transfer case are so thin. So you only have about, it looks like maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch gap. So if you hit a rock or you hit a tree or whatever it's going to be that bashes in that rear skid plate, you're going to crack your transfer case and your transmission. And it's a very well documented failure for the KRX. You can Google this. You can find tons and tons of literature online about it. It's very common and it happens a lot. Now, Kawasaki will warranty that. But that being said, if they're going to warranty it, it's very, very lengthy time to get the parts back. So it's going to be a pain for you guys. You're not going to be riding. Your bike's going to be down. For a lot of us, myself included up until recently, you're making payments on something that you just can't use. It's sitting in the garage shining and you can't use it because it's broken. So make sure right from the factory, go buy a skid plate, throw that on. If you can't afford the full skid plate or you don't think it needs it, at least get the full access or a similar comparison so that you have that protection, you have that added strength. One thing, this being my first side-by-side, I was not aware of how much I was going to be hitting stuff. When you're going along, you can see the underbody on my KRX. It's scratched all to hell. It's bent in, it's dented. I've hit lots of stuff because when you're flying through the trail, these things move quick. It's not like an ATV where you're doing 20 or 30 kilometers. Sometimes you're doing 80 or 90 kilometers an hour and you're hitting stuff, you're bottoming out. There's an unexpected tree or there's an unexpected rock. You smack that and you bend stuff up. So make sure you protect yourself for that. Another one that I was really unimpressed with the KRX was the fan failure. So I did have my fan fail on me at about 1,000 kilometers. I was out for a ride in the bush. Luckily I had a couple people with me and I lost my my radiator fan, my cooling fan. So the bearing spun out. You could hear it cranking around. Sounded like I had a mouse in there every time the fan came on. Luckily for me, I was able to make it off the trail, come home, and order a replacement. So again, Kawasaki did warranty that for me, which was awesome. But my machine was down while I waited for parts to ship in. The stock fans are known for failing. They have these it's either 3 or 4 magnetic brushes on the outside rim of the fan. And the glue on there is very weak. It breaks off, it comes apart. And then those magnets are jumbling around inside, playing with your bearing, playing with your fan. So if it doesn't already jack up your fan where it can't move, you're going to have that sound and you know it's coming. So super, super inconvenient, especially whenever you're in the back 40. So very, very important. Make sure to upgrade your fan if and when it fails. It's something I don't like. So again, something to look for, something I don't like about the KRXs. Kawasaki, if you guys are watching this, it's a known problem. Get on it, fix it, deal with it, because nobody likes being broken down on the trail and no one likes spending money on stuff. I have a Brute Performance aftermarket fan in here now, a brushless fan. That's a completely sealed system, So I don't have to worry about that. I've replaced it, and I do have a video. If you guys go through some of my videos, I've done a quick video on how to install that new rad fan. It's not the hardest job in the world. You can do it with basic hand tools in a few hours of your time, but you do have to upgrade it, which again, on a machine that costs, what used to be a brand new car, I think you guys should not have to worry about a broken fan. So there's that as well. I've talked about a few different parts that I've had to buy over time, and that brings me to my fourth dislike, and that is the availability or lack thereof of aftermarket support. Now, the KRX 1000 is relatively new compared to the Razors and the Can-Ams, or especially the CF Motos or any of the other brands that are out there. One thing that is coming along, but it's not there yet, is having the aftermarket support. So being able to go online and have 5, 6, 7 different options on where to buy parts, whether it's springs, skid plates, shock replacements, turbo kits, superchargers, all of that stuff. It's all being developed. People are working on it, and that will grow with time. But as it sits right now, your best bet when you need parts is still to go through your dealer. And that's not great because the dealerships are overloaded. Things like that rod fan, I did get that warranted from Kawasaki. It took 3 months for them to ship that in. If I had my machine sit for 3 months while I'm waiting for a part to ship in, I would have been super, super upset. So I'm glad that the aftermarket support is slowly growing, but just be aware of that. If you're going to purchase a KRX, there is a possibility that when you want some aftermarket support, or if you have a standard part go down, you're going to be ordering through the dealership, and it's going to take you a long time to get those parts. So that is pretty well the extent of the things that I dislike about the KRX 1000. That's my list. Now let's move on to the stuff that I absolutely love about this machine. So the riding that we do is very varied. We do hill climbs, we do slow, crawly, technical stuff. We ride a lot of dirt, a lot of rock. We do tons of snow riding. We have 6 or 7 months of snow here in Alberta, Canada. So there's a lot of snow to be riding in. This thing performs amazing in the snow. It's super, super, super good. But I want to talk about why I love this so much. So number one reason, and this is a big one, this is really why I went with the KRX 1000 when I was looking at all the different machines. Reliability. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've taken this machine, I've left at 8 in the morning, and I've come home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night by myself all day, and I've never thought twice about it. I trust that when I turn this key, the bike is going to turn on, it's going to get me home, it's going to perform flawlessly, there's not going to be any issues. And we can get in a little bit to the maintenance side of that. I do take care of my stuff. I make sure my oil changes are up to date. I make sure any issues are addressed. But for the most part, this bike is extremely, extremely reliable. The Kawasaki KRX is downright reliable. It's unbelievable. I've been miles and miles from cell reception. I've been up mountain passes where you would have needed a snowmobile to come in and rescue me. I have no issue taking this thing far away by myself and trusting that it's going to get me back at the end of the day. And there's a couple things that Kawasaki provides from the factory that you can always trust on. Number one, oversized belt cooling. You have a CVT gauge on your display system, so you can tell if your belt's getting hot, you know to back off it a little bit. I'm going to throw a little bit of shade at the razors because the razors blow belts. I've been out with tons of them. Lots and lots of them blow belts. And if the razor guys are watching and going, oh, it's not true, I haven't blown a belt, I haven't had an issue, blah, blah, blah. Just wait. You will. So the belts blow on those. The KRX, they do not. Second thing that they do from the factory is they give all of them beadlock rims. Beadlock rims mean that even if you blow a tire and you do not have a patch kit, you do not have a sidewall slug, you do not have a replacement tire, you're going to come home at the end of the day because you can drive this thing out with a beadlock rim and the tire's not going to come off. That is a huge, huge plus in my opinion if you're riding by yourself most of the time, like I do. So another big thing, big thing, construction. When you talk about durability, this thing is overbuilt everywhere. There's double shear parts everywhere. The ball joints are oversized. The axles are oversized. The seals are put together really, really well. After 2,000 kilometers of hard riding, I don't have any seals leaking. Knock on wood, of course, knock on wood. But I don't have any seals leaking. I don't have any issues with axles breaking. I don't have any issues with ball joints being loose or wheel bearings going out. I don't have any issues with the brakes as of yet. The brakes still work phenomenal. It's been a really, really, really good unit that way. So I can't say that about the Can-Ams for sure. The razors do seem to have come up a little bit in quality. The newer razors seem to be holding up well and you're getting some time out of those parts. But again, it depends on the maintenance. It depends how you take care of them. Things like seals though, I mean, even if you're changing your diff fluid regularly, those things can go out. I haven't had a single issue with the KRX. So I was out for a ride this past summer, and I was out with a buddy of mine who was riding shotgun with me. We were flying down the trail. We were doing 80 kilometers an hour. I smoked a ditch that I did not expect to be there. We were moving along at a fast clip. I could not divert. I could not get away from it. I hit the rut so hard that it cracked my rim in half. I tried to get warranty on it. Kawasaki would not cover it. They said, hey, you know what? This is your fault. The rim failed, not from manufacturer, but because of abuse. Okay, whatever, no big deal. I put the same tire on an aftermarket set of rims, and I've been driving it ever since, and nothing else is wrong with the car. So the KRX does not have a bent A-arm, it does not have a broken axle, it does not have loose ball joints, it does not have a tweaked frame. There was no other damage, and I can show you guys here how bad that rim was. Like, it was literally cracked in half. So we hit it pretty darn good, pretty quick with lots of weight. Between my buddy and I and the gear in the machine, we probably had, oh, let's see, I'm gonna say 500 pounds of gear in the machine. So you're looking at almost 3,000 pounds flying down the trail that went into a rock and cracked the rim in half, and nothing else got tweaked. So incredible. Talk about overbuilt. What an incredible machine. So Kawasaki, you guys did a great job. And that's also, let's talk about the quality of the parts, because I've heard this before too. People say, oh, well, this stock quality is no good. You're gonna have to buy aftermarket this, aftermarket that. You're gonna have to get new bumpers and Nerf bars and roofs and doors and all this other stuff. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So as you guys can see, here's my sliders. So I have cranked into trees going quick. I've slid into ditches. Yeah, they're scratched up, of course, but did they do their job? There is no brakes in the side of my machine. The plastic isn't all cracked to hell. There's a dent on this front bumper from hitting rocks, going like I talked about, flying through the trail, going super fast, and you hit a rock. Yeah, it's dented, of course. If that bumper wasn't there, it would have gone through the front end of my machine. It could have taken out my radiator, my fan. It could have taken out the differential. There's lots of stuff that could have happened. The frame could be cast sideways. No issues. So I don't know, in my opinion, tough parts. I think that's a well-built bumper. I think that's well-built Nerf bars. I've scratched tons and tons of trees with my roof. I haven't had that come off. So overall, pretty impressed with that. You know, the thing can take some abuse. You guys can see the underbelly of the machine as well. You saw that earlier. It's scarred, it's bent up, it's beaten on, but nothing's broken, nothing's tweaked. The machine still drives straight. It doesn't have any crazy vibrations. There's nothing in there that makes it an issue. So that's the ease of maintenance and the accessibility, or sorry, the durability of this machine is truly incredible. Okay, so now we've talked a little bit about the durability of the machine. We've talked a little bit about the no seals leaking and how it's built that way. Now let's talk a little bit about the other things that I like about the machine. So I love the storage. There is a ton of storage on this. We have storage behind the seats. We have storage in the back bed. You can see I've got some chairs, a chainsaw, a cooler. Behind my seats, I've got spare belt. I've got my little pack of tools. I've got a tow rope in case we ever find a machine that needs to be towed out or we need to make an extension for our winch line. There's lots of stuff that you can pull in this machine or carry with you, and you don't feel crowded. The machine's still huge. My girlfriend rides with me. I don't have any issue with her bumping into me or vice versa when we're bouncing down the trail. No problems whatsoever. So there's lots and lots of space. It's very comfortable. It's a very roomy exterior. I'm 6 feet tall. If you were 6'3", 6'4", I still think you'd fit very comfortably in this machine with your partner. So that's awesome. Another thing that Kawasaki got right from the factory is they give you a package that incorporates everything that you want in a side-by-side. So when I came from riding ATVs to trying out this side-by-side game for the last 11 months, I guess it's been, so almost a year, the machines don't come with anything. And I say that almost as an understatement. Things that you would expect to find, it doesn't have. Things like bumpers, things like Nerf bars, things like roofs, things like fenders, you know, things like a sound system, things like an infotainment system, things like sliding seats, you know. These are all things that I think on a machine that costs as much as side-by-sides do these days, it should come with all of that from factory. The Kawasaki does. Everything else doesn't. If you go and buy a Razor or a Can-Am, you don't have full doors necessarily. You don't have a roof necessarily. You don't have a winch. You don't have bumpers. You don't have a sound system. You don't have I mean, the list goes on. There's so many things that don't come with these machines. They're add-ons. Some of them package them up, but for the most part, these are all add-ons. These are all things that you have to put on afterwards or find some aftermarket support for, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. It's an off-road toy. Obviously, I'm going to need a winch. Obviously, it should have bumpers, so if I hit something, it doesn't go through the front end. It should have, rock sliders was a nice benefit. When I bought the Trail Edition, I said, okay, obviously we're going to be hitting stuff. This machine is wide. Most trails are made for ATVs where I ride. We need something that's going to protect the sides. So the Kawasaki came with all of that, with some extras, with some stuff that they thought about. Things like the metal wheel liners. Look at these things. These things are stout. There is a wheel liner there, so if a tree kicks up, it's not necessarily going to come through and smoke you in the face. They've thought of these things. They've thought about the little things like that you're going to need. A roof. It comes with a roof. They've got that on there. All these little things that they add in, it's just good engineering. It's them thinking about, okay, what is a person going to put on and what are they going to otherwise accessorize that we can offer them and at a decent price. I think the Trail Edition was an extra, I think it was a $3,000 or $3,500 package when I bought it. So for an extra $3,000 to have a machine come with that from factory and have warranty on it. So if my winch fails, I get warranty. That's amazing. That's awesome. So very, very good call, Kawasaki. You guys did a great job on that. I think you did. You were thinking ahead. You were looking at what people were going to want and you did it. So super, super good. Another thing that they thought about that I really like about the machine is aftermarket accessories and the ease of installing those things. So take a look at this. So whip lights. Everybody puts whip lights on the Kawasaki. The Kawasaki comes with built-in mounts for those. So they already know people are going to put them on. Here's some mounts. They're welded into your cage. They're ready to roll. Left side tail light. Right underneath here is a quick connect. Every single Kawasaki KRX has this. You literally unplug it and you have the wiring ran to the back of the machine from factory to plug in your whip lights. I've done 3 sets of whip lights on this machine so far, testing and demoing different stuff to see what I like. It takes me 25 minutes now to put on a brand new set of whips. That's ridiculous. I don't have to run any wires. I don't have to run any fuses. It's all connected already. It's very, very simple. I don't have to be wrapping around and adjusting and whatever else. They've already done that for me, which is amazing. The bus bar. So Razors have this as well. I'm sure Can-Ams do. I'm not super familiar with the inner workings of the Can-Ams, but I know that on the Kawasaki and on the Razors, there's a bus bar. It makes it very easy to add in aftermarket accessories. You can see, I won't pull off the dash panel, but there's about 6 different rivet clips and a couple of screws. The center dash comes out and you have a bus bar where you can attach all the 12-volt aftermarket accessories that you would ever want. So currently I've got my whip lights set up on that back panel, which connects to the bus bar. I have my charger, so I can charge my GoPro, my phone, my tablet, whatever. I have a switcher set up for rocker lights. So there's lots and lots of different stuff that you can add in, and they make it so simple to do. They've thought of this. There's even a fuse on that bus bar. So in the fuse panel, there's a 10 amp fuse that goes to your bus bar. Very smart move. Kawasaki, again, you guys are thinking ahead. Appreciate you guys doing that. It makes it very easy for a guy like me to go, okay, I'm just gonna wire up some stuff. Where can I put it? There's a spot right there where I can easily slide it in. On the front panel of that center console that you have to take out, you put it back in. There's also a few extra spots to throw some switches in. You guys can see I've done that here. I've got a few switches already added in. So it's very easy to add stuff in. It looks stock, it looks clean. There's no monkeying around with trying to make stuff work or make it look close to factory because they've already done the work for you, which is nice. Suspension. So the suspension on this machine is nuts. It's so plush. It's so incredible when you're going through whoops, when you're climbing up rocks, when you're flexing over these different inclines and trying to move with, I don't ride a lot of rocks, a lot of big rocks, but definitely going through washouts and going through trenches that have formed from rain and sand. The suspension's incredible, and that's with 2 people in it. I can fly through a trail doing 60 or 70 and be completely comfortable, feel completely in control, whereas a Razor or a Maverick, I've seen the Mavericks try to keep up and they're bouncing around everywhere. Guys can do it. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but the Kawasaki just does it better. They do such a good job going through these. Granted, without nitrogen pressure or without proper tender springs, whatever we find the answer to be, it could be better, But when they're new and from the factory, these guys have the best suspension system out of the box, period. They ride so good. The geometry is awesome. It's such a plush ride. And every single person that's been in my car says that. I've seen guys get out of a RZR, jump into my KRX, go for a ride, and go, wow, that was nuts. It was so nice. It was so seamless. It was so, I felt so safe in this machine, and I felt so quick. And it's not because the KRX is that fast. It's because it handles everything so smoothly. Next, what I want to talk about is the power delivery. So the KRX, it is no mystery that it is the slowest kit on the block in comparison with the competitors. So it is slower than a RZR. It is slower than a Can-Am. It is much slower than any of the cars with turbos on them. But the power and how it's delivered is super, super good. Now that's due to a couple of things. The Kawasaki with the wet clutch makes a big difference whenever you're already on an incline and going to start and shoot up something. You get that action right away from the clutch. There is no belt squeal. I have yet to chirp this belt. So the power delivery is really nice. This thing is geared super low. So if you're doing trails, if you're doing technical stuff, if you're doing, pretty much anything, I would say, except for running fire roads that are very fast, the power and the way the power is delivered is very, very good in the KRX. I don't think that if you're running fire roads or backlogging roads, if you're running dunes, this is not the machine to buy. I don't think. It's geared very low. It likes to rev high. If you're running trails between 5 kilometers an hour and 55, 60 kilometers an hour, you're going to absolutely love this because there's always power underfoot. You have a sweet spot right in that 30 to 40 kilometer an hour where the machine is always awake. You step on the gas, it goes, you hit the brakes, it stops quick. The power is really, really, really good in that range. As soon as you get out of that, once you start going 65, 70 kilometers an hour plus, the bike signs off. I'm not going to lie to you. And you should pay attention to me saying that when it comes to buying one of these things. I would not buy one of these if I knew, okay, I'm going to spend most of my time cruising around at 90 or 100 kilometers an hour. I'm not saying it won't do it. I've had the machine to 108 kilometers an hour many, many times, which is the top limit for it. Or 67 miles per hour, I think is what the conversion is. But it doesn't like to do it. It revs all the way to the sky doing it. It doesn't like to do it. It's not efficient. It's not what it's made for. So if you're buying a KRX and saying, I want to go as fast as possible, it's not the machine for you. You're not going to like it. But if you do want to run some trails and be super stable and have the best suspension and have a really, really good ride, then you want to have the KRX. I'm telling you, it's amazing. When you shift this thing into 4 low and start trying to crawl up stuff nice and slow and controlled, it just walks up. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be big rocks. It can be snowy covered hills. It can be any of that stuff. It will walk up anything in comparison to, I hate to keep beating it, but the RZRs. I've got buddies that run the RZRs. They put it in 4 low and their belt is squealing when they're on an incline because they just don't have that low end engagement. They don't have that low end gearing where it's meant to go slow. That bike likes to run fast. The KRX loves going slow or medium speed, we'll say. Now that being said, is it slow? No, it's not slow. It's just not fast, if that makes any sense. So it's not that it won't keep up with everybody else or that you're going to spend your whole day at the very back of the pack. You're just not going to be at the front. There will always be somebody that's faster than you. So if you're just looking for that adrenaline pump, if you're looking for that smack in the chest every time you hit the gas, this is not your bike. Off the top of my head, I think it's 110 or 112 horsepower, and it weighs 2,100 pounds. The power to weight ratio is obviously a little bit off there, whereas say a RZR, and I'm just spitballing numbers here, but I think a RZR is maybe 1,600 or 1,700 pounds fully loaded, and it has the same power, 110 horse. So something to be said about that. And that does tie in together with the construction. It ties into the bigger ball joints, the bigger axles, the double shear everywhere with the welds. It's overbuilt. It's overbuilt, it's tough, it's stout. You do pay for that in weight, and that means you are sacrificing some speed for sure. But definitely not a weak motor by any comparison. I think the only other thing that I do quickly want to touch on is the ability to have fully locked front and rear end. So in the rear end on a side-by-side, the rear end's always fully locked. The locker, if you will, is always fully engaged. Both wheels are always spinning. In the front, there are some really, really good four-wheel drive systems on the market, but this one has selectable lockers. So if you're gonna go out and do some serious rock crawling, go up some crazy stuff, or for me personally, when I'm in the snow, flick those lockers on and all of a sudden all four wheels are constantly spinning. That's a really big deal. As soon as you click the locker on, you feel that difference, you feel that power. In the summertime, it's damn near unstoppable. If you're not bellied out, you're going up it. The lockers work awesome. I personally, coming from the Jeep world, I really, really like having that locker. It's a nice little fail-safe. It's also really helpful if you get stuck in the snow and you think that you aren't going anywhere. You click that locker on, you'd be surprised how much that pulls you out. So really, really nice feature. Really, really like that. And talking about the reliability, the durability, the amount of space, you know, the lack of maintenance that I've had to do. You know, I hope that shows you it's a machine, things break. All right. If I was standing in front of you guys saying, oh, yeah, I got 2,000 problem-free miles out of it, you're not pushing to the outer edge of that machine. There's no way. It's a machine and they break. It's the same as a vehicle. If you have a truck or a car and it's never broken on you, I'm going to guarantee you're probably not pushing that to the outer limits of what it can do. I'm still searching to find the limits on this machine, and it's been tough to find. It's really well built. If I could do it all over again, if someone came to me tomorrow and said, would you buy another KRX? 100%. I'd have no problem buying it. I really, really like it. I think it looks sharp. I think it's one of the best machines out there as far in terms of the aesthetics of it. I love the LED headlights. I think that's really good. I love that I have access to everything up front and in the back. I love working on this machine. Never once have I thought, what an idiot engineer. Why did they put it in this spot or this place? I'm taking a shot at you guys Can-Am owners because a Can-Am is absolutely atrocious to work on. They should give you a free handgun whenever you have to work on that machine. It's absolutely terrible. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. If you have to pull a Can-Am apart, you might as well just pay someone at the dealership because it will not be worth it for you to do it. So the KRX, on the other hand, very easy to work on. Love it. It's easy to rip down. It's easy to put back together. It just makes sense the way they've aligned everything. So that's the end of our video, you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope this gives you some direction on making a purchase, or at least giving you a little more insight into the KRX 1000 and what it's all about. Love it. I'm definitely not bashing on the other brands. I just love my brand. I think it's a really, really good machine for the money, and I've had a lot of fun with it, and I'm looking forward to having even more fun with it in the future. So thanks for watching, you guys. If you enjoyed this video or you want to see the KRX in action, please hit that subscribe button. Give us a big thumbs up. We appreciate that support, and YouTube thinks that our videos are better if you give a thumbs up. So please do that for us, and we will see you guys out on the trails. Country Slicker, out of here.